All right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Getting you ready for the big game this weekend, Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Sam Bradford makes his return to Philadelphia. Vikings undefeated against the Eagles, who are on a 2-game losing streak. Now joining us is a former Vikings linebacker, now a color analyst for the Minnesota Vikings on their radio broadcast, and that's Pete Bercich, who joins us right now. Pete, appreciate the time today. Thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
Oh, doing great. It's still above freezing up here in October in Minnesota, so we're loving it. It's like a good July day for us.
I'm surprised. Last week I had to go to the jeans here on the East Coast, and now I'm in the cargo shorts, so everything's going fine here. So it looks like there'll be some good weather for the game. Let me ask you, though, because you came to Philadelphia, I know, as a coach. I don't know if you came here as a player and you had a tough playoff loss, but what are some memories that come to mind in both your coaching or playing career coming into Philadelphia and playing a football game?
Well, I remember I played at the Vet Stadium back when I was at Notre Dame. We played Navy there one time, and I do remember it was a rainy day. We were wearing our white jerseys, and every time you slid on the carpet, you got up, you had about 6 layers of Mike Schmidt chew spit and everything else all over you. So it was. I remember that part of it, and I coached with Chuck Knox Jr., who was out there when Ray Rhodes was the head coach, and he just tell me about the garbage that they'd put out, and it wouldn't get taken away till late in the day, Monday, and there'd be rats and everything running around when they were going in, for meetings and stuff. But it was a tough place to play. It always has been. We played at Lincoln Financial in a playoff game back in '05. I was a linebackers coach, and I remember we beat. I think it was '04. We beat Green Bay in a wild card game. Came out there and didn't obviously let you guys advance. So. Just some pretty good memories of being out there and coaching out there.
I was talking to Chris Cooley last week, the former Redskins tight end, and he said some similar things. It was a tough place to play in, but it was his favorite place to play a football game in. You've played and also coached in so many stadiums. What's your favorite road trip to go on and play in an NFL stadium?
Wow, I love going to Chicago. That's where I'm from. Love Seattle, especially when you get out there in August or September, because it's just a beautiful place. Beautiful city, beautiful stadium. I do enjoy going to Philly, and mainly because of the crowd. And you go to Chicago and you're going to see a lot of middle fingers and things like that. But when you go to Philly, man, you don't know what you're going to see. And we ride on the tour buses as we come in, and you might see everything from a full moon to a rock or two. I mean, it's awesome. It's one of the things that you always talk about when you talk to people about what it's like to travel the NFL. I remember a couple friends of mine came in town for that playoff game we were talking about, and they went to the bar over at where the Phillies play at the stadium there, and they walked in with some Viking stuff on, and apparently they shut the music off and asked them politely to leave. So I try to tell people up here that they don't know. You don't know what a rivalry is. I mean, Packer fans and Viking fans live together, and then they kind of don't get along for a couple days a year, but anybody that goes into Philadelphia, man, they don't want any party. I mean, they're rough on their own team, but they're even rougher on the other teams that come in. So I think it's great. I think it's fun. It's the best part of the NFL. I mean, driving in on a Sunday morning and seeing all that, it's a blast.
So you're telling me you won't be surprised if Sam Bradford gets booed heavily this weekend, then, right?
I mean, I would expect it. If we go in there and they somehow introduce Bradford and the crowd doesn't boo, I'll be a little disappointed.
All right. No, I agree with you. Some people here in Philadelphia think, they don't have a reason to boo Sam Bradford. I'm telling people, come on, guys, it's Philly. You know they're going to be able to boo him.
Of course you boo them, right?
Pete Bercich with us. All right, Pete, I want to get your take, though, on Bradford, because I've been surprised. That's a Vikings team with a lot of injuries, and Bradford so far, he's managed the game, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Last year, 8 games playing with the Eagles that he's had at least 1 interception or more. So how about the play of your quarterback this year?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, he's when the trade was first made and you look at his career-wise, touchdown to interception ratio, he was about, I think, 1.5 to 1 as far as interceptions go. The Vikings have had a very low-scoring defense now for a couple seasons. The difference this year is we're getting turnovers. We're scoring on special teams. There's a lot of other things that are going on. And the only thing that's going to derail a low-scoring defense are turnovers. And Bradford has been very, very careful with the football, which has been fantastic to see. The other thing that surprised us, and we've seen Teddy Bridgewater, and I think that we're not used to a guy with a big arm coming into town, and he can make the long throws from one hash mark all the way to the sideline on the other side of the field. And he's also thrown a couple really nice touch passes to guys like Adam Thielen and Rudolph and a couple other players. So he's been very, very smart with the football. And with a Norv Turner offense, you've got to be able to play action. And Bradford can turn his back on a defense and set up and go downfield. And the other thing he's been doing is taking too many hits. To be honest with you, that's the one thing that could derail what the Vikings have going, and that's if guys like Fletcher Cox get loose. We have a very nicked-up offensive line, but if a guy like him gets loose and they can start getting pressure and hitting Bradford, then that would be the main concern that as a Viking fan I would have going into Lincoln Financial.
It was interesting in the offseason because the minute they made that move for Carson Wentz, every fan in Philadelphia wanted to see Carson Wentz, and you knew that Sam Bradford was only going to be here for probably another season, and then that big trade did happen. I think Sam is a nice guy. I don't love him as a quarterback. You know he wasn't going to have any juicy quote, but how much personal motivation do you think there is for Sam Bradford in this game, especially with what happened over the summer with his agent having a lot to say?
Well, that's what agents do, and that's why you hire an agent. Let him be the bad guy. Let him be the one that squawks off, and smartly Sam's just been quiet about it. They haven't been around him for a couple of weeks, so you guys know him better than I do, but he's not a very boisterous guy. He's not the kind of guy that's going to give you quotes. I mean, we had a Brett Favre in here. I mean, that guy was a walking gong show. I mean, everywhere he went, there were people and cameras and quotes and everything else. He's a pretty under the radar, type of guy. So I don't expect him to, pop off or say anything. I mean, when you get traded, or if you leave a team and go to another, you may have a problem with one guy, and then one guy might be sitting up behind, tinted glass up in the booth. But the coaches and the equipment managers and the teammates and those guys, you love them all. So you would expect Sam to get out there maybe a few minutes early and go shake some hands and say hello to everybody that he used to play with just a few weeks ago, and then go on and finish the game. He's been in this league long enough to know how it goes. I don't think any of this is going to be new to him. And so overall, I really don't think it's necessarily going to be, that much of an issue. I mean, playing in Philly for that long, I mean, you have a rookie quarterback going into Philly, yeah, you worry about the crowd and things like that, but he's been there. He knows what that place is all about. So I don't think, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be rattled by it or the situation is going to be too big. I'm not saying he's going to sit there and hang, 3 touchdowns and 400 yards, but I'm saying that going into the game, I think he can handle it.
I like your coach. I've always been a fan of Coach Mike Zimmer, and especially the circumstances this year. You lose your starting quarterback, you lose a workhorse and the best running back in the league in Adrian Peterson, and they're still in this spot, and it's all because a lot of it is because of their defense and the way you guys get after opposing teams' quarterbacks and hold them to a low amount of points. I'm just wondering, though, on the offensive side of the ball, if Bradford's going to be able to keep it up, because it seems to me, as someone that's watched him play for a while, it just seems too good to be true with Sam Bradford, judging at his career.
Well, in some ways it may appear that, but this is not a team, and the Vikings are not a team that are going to depend on. We're not the Vikings like the team I played on in '98 when we were dependent upon the arm of Randall Cunningham and guys like Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Jake Reed. We're not an offensive juggernaut. This team is its identity is a low-scoring defense, and so for Bradford again, I think it's people here even say, how much more production can he give you? How much? It's like at what cost though? You don't want another touchdown a game at the cost of 2 interceptions per game because of that. So that's built in, I think, a little bit to the offense. Not that it's necessarily conservative, but we do a very good job of taking care of the football. And one of the things with Adrian, I mean, we didn't just lose our starting quarterback and one of the best running backs in the league. We also lost both of our starting tackles in Andre Smith and Matt Khalil. So you've lost five of the bigger, most important positions on a team, and they're still relevant. So this team has overcome quite a bit, and I have to give Zimmer a lot of credit. I mean, when when Teddy was injured, and his injury was bad enough where they had to call an ambulance out. I mean, his knee was completely gone, and they were worried about severing an artery and things like that. So they had an ambulance there. I mean, it was pretty graphic. And the next day, Zimmer said, basically, he talked about his wife. He said, my wife passed away 7 years ago, and you know what? The sun came up the next day, and life goes on. So I think the players. If you're a player, what are you going to say to that? I mean, it's like you can't go whining about losing a quarterback when you have a man up there that is that honest with you and really teaches you and tells you the truth. So he's the perfect guy for the job. And the only reason why Zimmer really isn't a household name is because he's coached in he was in Dallas, but he was in Cincinnati and then Minnesota, two smaller market teams. If he had been going from New York to Philadelphia or, somewhere else, like out on the West Coast or LA right now, I mean, he would definitely be a household name.
Sticking with the offense, let's just take a look at the running back position for the Vikings. We know right now it's not good, and that's a tall task trying to replicate or even come close to what Adrian Peterson did. But I take a look at this Eagles defense. The first 3 games they were good. The last 2 games they weren't. And last week they got abused on the ground. So do you see the Vikings maybe running the ball a little bit more this week, or has that attack just been so poorly that they're not going to go there?
Well, it's about being efficient. I think we have two different running backs. Jerick McKinnon he's very good out of the backfield. He's a very good receiver. He's actually very good at blitz pickup, but he's a cutback style runner. And he's not going to necessarily break one for the big one. Matt Asiata is just a bull. He's just straight downhill. He's also not too bad out of the backfield either. The running game for the Vikings, it just needs to be efficient, and that's kind of the way that we've seen it. If it's efficient enough, then you can get the play action going. You got a big target, and a guy like Kyle Rudolph. Stephon Diggs has had a very, very good year. Hopefully he'll be back from his groin injury. And guys like Adam Thielen that no one's ever heard about have come up and played big. I mean, Adam Thielen's a guy from Minnesota State. Just barely made the team. He's been getting better every year. And you get Bradford in here. Bradford doesn't know where he's from or who he is or when he was drafted. He just throws him the ball because he's open. So it's nice to see guys like Thielen come through. So we have a nice little receiving corps, but we still have a long way to go and a lot to prove. But I do know this: if our defense doesn't give up, 21 points, we've been winning football games.
And that defense is the key for the Vikings. We know that. That's their bread and butter. And I take a look at this Eagles offensive line. It's in shambles because of the suspension of one Lane Johnson. You have a right tackle who played his first game last week, was not good. They're going to go back with him because they have no other alternatives, really. So how about that defensive line? Because if they get after Big V and the rest of that Eagles offensive line early, this thing could get ugly.
And that's something I'm sure that the Vikings are hoping for. It's neat. The thing about the defense is that there isn't a guy. You don't have 2 big defensive ends or big name defensive ends. You've got 6 or 7 guys that play defensive line: Everson Griffin, Linval Joseph, Brian Robinson. You have Tom Johnson. I mean, who's Tom Johnson, right? I mean, you got guys in there that are all doing well. We have a lot. I don't know what our sack total is now. It's somewhere around 15 or 16, but it's pretty well spread out amongst 5 to 6 different defensive linemen. You have Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, 2 guys that can really run. Harrison Smith, who, with the way he's been playing, I think he is the best safety in the league. He's definitely the most all-around safety. He can tackle, he can blitz, he can defend the pass, he can turn defense and offense when he gets a chance to, and interceptions. He's a big part of this defense. So it's the depth and width of the defense. A lot of depth at corner. I mean, so as an offense, who do you stop? That's the thing, is that there's no one guy that you have to shut down. You're not dealing with one defensive end that you've got to put 2 guys on or 2 good corners and maybe try to run the football. You have a lot of depth in this defense to go after. But one of our strengths, yes, is our defensive line, and that means a quick passing game. And I'm still waiting for a team to try to go multiple tight ends and just pound the football and just possess the ball and try to win that way.
Pete Bercich with us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, wrapping up with the former Vikings linebacker, also coach, and now does a great job on their radio broadcast. Carson Wentz, when you see him on the field, I've seen a pretty darn good quarterback so far, but what do you see with all your experience in this league?
And I think he's a smart kid. He's a tough kid. I love the fact that he came, from North Dakota State. We've heard about him up here, up there with what he's done, and with the Sioux, and you just see him go to Philadelphia. The first thing we were thinking is that that's a tough place for a guy from North Dakota to go to. You can't get to a town that's more opposite than where he's come from and where he is. But I think he's settling in nicely. He has a lot of experience in the head coach and the assistant coaches, guys that have done it, been quarterbacks in the league. Well coached, smart young man, and the best is yet to come with him. I think you guys have a very, very, very bright future with him, and I just hope that it waits one more week.
And the last two games, they've been rough, but the quarterback has not played poorly. The way that he was just getting hit last week, it was remarkable how they were only down by 7 points and lost the football game by that final. By the way, the Vikings are coming off a bye, and we saw the Eagles go so hot going into the bye, and then they've been cold ever since. How do the Vikings respond to the bye?
Well, you got to get the guys that have been out or nicked up healthy, and it's just nice to get that break, but you can't lose focus. It allows the coaches to not only examine or spend some time or more time on the Eagles, but it also gives them a chance to look at themselves, to self-scout. You do a lot of that. So that way you're aware of your tendencies on offense and on defense. So it's a good chance to install a little extra offense, a little extra defense, to break some tendencies. So it's a little harder then for the opponent to look at the last three games and say, well, this is what they do, this is what they like to do, because you're going to come into this one trying to break some tendencies and build on things that maybe have been successful in the beginning of the season that maybe you weren't aware of, or throwing some wrinkles into the game plan at certain times. So that's how you do it as a coach. I know that. You break those tendencies, you put some new things in, you work on what needs to be worked on, you develop that. For the players, this is a very business-like group. Not a lot of prima donnas. I don't think there are any prima donnas on this team. A pretty quiet group. They work hard, and that part of it I think is going to continue.
Pete, last one for you. We have a big problem in the National Football League, and
we do,
National Football League, yeah, a big one, because I'm in New Jersey, and this Josh Brown situation right now, it's very ugly, and it's very disheartening to see the NFL and the Giants only give this guy a game with their new policy, and now there's this new information, and I don't buy that the NFL didn't see this information before. How does the NFL put a stop to this stuff? Because every time that I see these stories come out, it makes me sick, and as a fan of the game, it's impossible to root for players like this, and I know there's a lot of good players in the league, but the people that hit women, they shouldn't be playing in this league.
Yeah, I agree, and it's the problem. I know this is part of the issue when you get to these things like this, and we're talking criminal activity. There's just a set of laws and rules that you really have to follow. I don't think anybody out there disagrees with the fact that this guy should no longer play football, but there's a process that has to be gone through. There's a criminal side of this that has to be gone through. And so until you get to that point, then it's not all clear cut and dry, and you never know. You just got to make sure that all the information is accurate, and that takes some time. And once they find out, I'm sure that he'll be dealt with appropriately. But that's the problem, is that you want immediate action as a fan, as somebody, as anybody who's involved in the NFL. When something like this happens, you want to see immediate, definite action done now. But on the other side, it's a business, and there are two sides, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty, that kind of thing. So there's a process there that lags a little bit and takes a little bit of time, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And can they rectify that? We'll see. But right now, I think that's the best the league that can do.
I really wonder how much the league has learned, though, from the whole Ray Rice incident, because I know they have that new personal conduct policy where you get 6 games, but you haven't even seen it implemented yet because of the mitigating circumstances. Yep. I was reading this new report that came out, and there was an issue between him and his wife at the Pro Bowl where they had to take his wife and the kids to a different hotel so Josh Brown couldn't find them. To me, that should be enough for 6 games right there, no?
No, well, yeah, you would think so. But in hindsight, yes, that you could say that. But you hate to say it. You just have to. You don't know. You don't know if it was an argument or why they had to leave. You don't know all the facts of the story. But now knowing what's been going on, yeah, you could look back at that and say, yeah, absolutely. The red flags were here. The red flags were there. You do worry about someone faking a video. You worry about somebody making something up. You worry about those kinds of things where if the NFL did take immediate action, somebody theoretically, and I'm talking theoretically here, not about these situations in particular, but theoretically could be kicked out, suspended, whatever, for something that they never did or something that they didn't do wrong. And you just have to make sure before you drop the hammer on somebody that everything's valid and, it happened how it happened. And when things come out like that, then, yeah, you have to absolutely get rid of these guys and get them out and move on as a league. And it's just like I said, there's no easy way or perfect way to handle all of this. And like we know in this day and age where it takes 30 seconds for things to go viral, that, justice can't be delivered swiftly enough, especially with people that commit those kinds of crimes. I mean, yeah, they should be punished, and you'd love to see them get it right away. But unfortunately, you have to kind of let the system play itself out.
Pete, thanks for coming on. Good luck to your high school team that you're coaching, and also enjoy a cheesesteak this weekend in Philly.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks so much. There's Pete Bercich joining us, the former Vikings linebacker, now a color analyst for their radio broadcast. Vikings and Eagles this Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Way too much evidence here, though, with Josh Brown. And the league could say, we were not privy to this evidence. Come on. There's an alleged 20 acts of domestic violence. There was an incident at the Pro Bowl. And they only give him a game. And he already served that game. They're going to open this thing back up, though. We're still waiting for a statement from the Giants. It's a joke. This is a public organization. Get a statement out there. It's a pretty obvious one. The guy should be cut. That's what should happen. And if he doesn't get cut, then guess what? You're going to have more backlash. And then eventually, the league's going to drop the hammer on him. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. We're here at Blend Bar and Bistro. Love this place. Actually walked over to their pizza place today, too. And I had a nice slice of pepperoni pizza. Oh, phenomenal. And we're powered today by Corona Light. So come down, join us at Blend Bar and Bistro. This is the Zach Gelb Show. We'll be back after these short messages. Eagles Talk coming up next.